Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Kate Assaraf, who's the founder and CEO of Dip Sustainable Haircare, a seven-figure American-made brand that has boldly refused to sell on Amazon or in big box stores. As a Forbes columnist, New Jersey's 2024 Mompreneur of the Year, and creator of the Shop Small Index, Kate is a leading voice for economic independence, local business revival, and patriot-aligned consumer choice. She's on a mission to protect small businesses in Main Street from monopolistic giants and to show Americans that integrity in business still wins. Kate, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I cannot wait to get into this. I mean, we talk about this type of thing a lot and what's going on with corporations and monopolies and everything else. And I know you talk about the freedom economy and how we can vote with our dollars, which is something, we've touched on before, but maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that somewhere along the line, so I studied economics, and there's this kind of fantasy in economics that it's called the dismal science because it's not kind to humans. Capitalism isn't kind to humans, but I think we've lost the plot and really let that be true. And I don't think it was always like that in America. I think, there was a lot of commerce that happened in building businesses where you had to look people in the eye during transactions, or your dollars went to your community, someone in your community where you purchased goods from them, or went to a restaurant, and that money then ended up cycling through your own neighborhood and through your own municipalities, and made sure that you were really spending your money in a way that benefits you back in a microeconomic way. And I think what's happened really over the past 10 years, with Amazon coming around, we've traded this human to human experience, that I think capitalism kind of needs, and now made it faceless and made it purely transactional. And I think that and then expanding from people ordering directly from overseas, that's even made it more distanced from, keeping our money working for us. And I want to call attention to it because I don't think people realize that the cost of convenience comes at like a much bigger expense to you and your family.
I agree. I feel like we are in this society where everything is about convenience now and whatever's fastest and cheapest, and nobody's really thinking about it until like shit hits the fan.
Right.
And I think COVID even more so because we got so used to having everything just delivered and just going online.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I grew up where we like still used cash all the time. No one uses
Mhm.
cash anymore. So even that, it's like
Yeah,
just a completely different world we're living in where everything is so fast paced and
great.
we don't really think about it. And it's like, well, why would I buy it at this store when I can just get it from, a place online that's getting it from China and it's way cheaper?
Absolutely. And you forget that that distance between what you pay in a store and what you pay, very cheap in China, that distance in dollars is what pays for someone to have a job here. That's what, keeps the lights on in the building in your town. And so it's all well and good to be so individualistic that you want to save money for yourself, but saving money for yourself at such an extreme, um, ends up really hurting you and your community in the long term. And it's really hard to retrain people to think of shopping that way. It's really hard to, because it's like if you never let your kids have a bedtime, right? And then suddenly you're like, hey, lights off at 9 o'clock. Like
Right.
it's not it's hard. It's hard to make people see like the reality of, you know, so I'm like, I live in New Jersey, and so I have to think about what this place that I invested, 30-year mortgage is going to look like in 30 years, right? And even 10 years. And I want to, in my own town, like keep spending at these local stores. Otherwise, I mean, the joke I always make is that every building is going to be an urgent care. Like the urgent care is the spirit Halloween of small stores. It's crazy. So, yeah, so I'm really passionate about this, and I want to prove to other people that it can work. You can start a business and focus on local independent store owners, and you can keep your products off of Amazon and off of the shelves of like, a big box retailer like a Walmart or a Target and still live a very comfortable life. You don't have to put yourself in the shoes of a Shark Tank entrepreneur and fantasize about this huge, big, complicated business that you might have. You can just live like you can have a nice business that's solid, that does the right thing for your community.
I want to backtrack a little bit to your business. When you started your company, just tell us a little bit about that. And then, were you approached by Amazon to sell on there, or how did this all come about?
Sure. So I started this business out of frustration, really, with the sustainable hair care movement. Um, I was using very expensive salon bottled brands, and every time I would use one of the bar brands that already existed, it felt like they were focusing more on the plastic free element than the hair care element of it. And so I've been in beauty for a long time, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to solve this problem myself because when I was in the shower, I realized like all these bars I was going through was actually creating more waste and more garbage. That I was doing the exact opposite of what I purchased them for. And I also feel like sometimes sustainability is they're not making something for someone like me. They're not make they're making things plastic free forward instead of, really making a comparable product that gets you to really make a change and consume less. Or like I want to make sure with the hair care, I made bars that saved people a lot of money, had them shopping less at the store, and also worked as well as the stuff I was already buying. So that was like a big piece of it. And then yeah, after we launched, very quickly after we launched, I don't know whether Amazon just has people like, or some sort of AI algorithm that finds people that launch businesses, but very quickly after, we were approached by Amazon to get on there to grow. They were like aggressively getting beauty brands on the platform, and I said no. And I've pretty much been approached by either Amazon itself or someone who recruits brands to get on Amazon, like a third party business, every week for the past 4 years. It's
Wow.
it's crazy. I say no every time. And I get laughed at. I was straight up laughed at a trade show when one of these, I call them Amazon vultures. They not all of them work for Amazon, but they come and they find brands and they want to recruit them. And they give them this like huge promise of all this wealth. And he was like, you could 10x your sales by being on Amazon. And I was like, but it would be at the cost of every single individual store owner that I'm trying to support. And that is way more important to me, that these people in I have store owners in every single state that teach people about about making real sustainable swaps that are good, because the store owners vet these products and vet the ingredients and make sure there are no harmful ingredients in their store. So these are, whether someone goes into a store to buy dip, like is not the big picture for me. I want them to go in and maybe dip gets them in the doors, and maybe they buy dip, and maybe they also, invest in reusable paper towels so they never have to buy like a huge bulk pack of paper towels anymore. And they, find things that are vetted and makes life easier for them. But you don't really get that on Amazon. So if someone came to buy my product on Amazon, they just see every other brand that has a shampoo and conditioner bar, and it wouldn't move the needle on making the earth a better place.
Yeah, I've seen people talking about how they have gone to Amazon because, like you said, they were
Mhm.
promised all these things. And then what ends up happening is you get all this counterfeit product, other
Yep.
people pretending to be your company and they're undercutting you, and you end up losing money. And then, like with Amazon's return policy, you have to eat the cost if there's a return, even no matter what the reason is. And people
Yeah.
know that, so they take advantage of it. And it's like they make all these promises, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of people going out of business
Yes.
because they trusted Amazon and they thought, oh, this is going to help me scale. And it does the exact
Totally.
opposite. It puts them out of business.
Yeah, those promises are empty, and it hurts that individual small business that had a dream and wanted to make their product more accessible to people through Amazon. And it also destroys the business. So say you're selling like, I don't know, camping supplies, right? It then also hurt the brick and mortar business that would have had a one-on-one experience with a customer, that to come in and like that person knows everything about camping, and can recommend your product. And so I think a lot of businesses that go onto Amazon, it's it feels like a dream. Like Amazon's open 24 hours a day. You don't have to do the fulfillment. Let Amazon do the work for you is basically how it's pitched and grow your business. Like when something sounds too good to be true, it normally is. And I think that that temptation, everyone is like a little bit dazzled by the American dream. And myself included, right? So but I don't think Amazon is the path to get there that is promised. What you have to then sell way more inventory to make the same amount of money. And that I think is not fair to small businesses.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about another aspect of it because I know there's the Amazon sort of like threat, but I feel like I've seen this a lot, especially with brands that start out like yours. They're small brands that everybody loves and they have like great ingredients and they're a great product. And
Yeah.
then they'll start selling like at Target, for example. And then next thing you know, a big corporation buys that company and then
Mhm.
they change the ingredients without telling people.
Yep.
And it's just like I've seen it over and over again. I don't know if you've seen Ian Carroll or heard of him, but he like blew up overnight on TikTok because he was going into places like Target and he would take a picture of like the shampoo aisle, for example. And he would do it with every aisle in the store and he would show how everything is pretty much owned by like five
Oh
corporations.
yeah. I know. Yeah. I know that guy.
Yeah. And so, what's your take on that? Like, how can you, as a business owner, like that seems like, oh, I've made it because this
Yeah.
company is coming and they're offering me all this money, but then at what cost? Because I feel like it changes the integrity of the brand.
It absolutely does. And I think it's up to whoever's purchasing that brand to make those decisions. Sometimes it depends on the category of goods, but you see it a lot. And I think a lot of it probably has to do with a big corporation buying a small company, probably has more legal risk if anything goes wrong. So they have to change maybe some of the ingredients for that reason. Not to say that there's any problems with ingredients in the first place, but it might be if you're going maybe selling 20,000 of something a year or two, you going mass and you're selling like 200,000 of something or 2 million of something, some of the raw ingredients might not be available at that scale, or they have to put in cheaper substitutes to make it make it shelf worthy if the original producer of something doesn't know enough about mass retail and what the price expectations versus cost of goods are. I mean, there's a lot of different variables there. And it's kind of a tragedy that it's a tragedy when that happens, when a small brand that is like has this cult following gets almost like filleted by a big company, and the founder's gone and the love and integrity are gone, and there's like, it's just a total shift. It's now gone from like something that felt like you were part of as a customer to something that feels like it's just a logo placed on something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question in terms of the environmental aspect of creating your product, because from what I understand, that was like one of the big passions for you in
Yeah.
creating this. How do you feel about the Maha movement in terms of sustainability and
Yeah.
the whole health aspect and environmental aspect of everything?
So the Maha movement is, I think, the bridge that can bring the two sides, political sides together. Like I feel like I know for some reason it's very controversial, but I work with a lot of stores. The stores that I work with are called refilleries, and they are very much aligned with, they are very, very careful about the ingredients they bring into their door, and they vet the products that they put on their shelves. Like some of them have put me through the ringer asking me about what's in our fragrances, what's in it, like what is in our bars, and I am happy to answer all of those questions for these refill store owners, and a lot of them are very much left leaning. So I actually am very grateful for the Maha movement to get people in the same place on the same page talking about ingredients in like a really meaningful way, and talking about how these ingredients are endocrine disruptors, talking about how plastic really, should be removed at in the supply chain where it can be. Obviously, it's a very useful media, right? Like for so many industries. So you can't remove plastic completely, but on anything that we were like putting in our bodies, I think it's really, really important that the Maha movement kind of, gains the traction that it needs to. And some of, one thing that I find really exciting is that Casey Means has purchased Dip and recommends it.
Wow.
She recommends it fragrance free to her in her newsletter, and she also put us on her Christmas list. And I am incredibly grateful to Casey. Have you read her book, Good
Oh,
Energy?
yes.
Yeah, me
Yes.
too. And
We
I've
both,
recommended it.
yes.
Yeah, the entire
We
Dip team has read Casey Means' book.
we were
And
we literally just talked about it last week because I read it last year
Mhm.
and we brought her up in our podcast last week when Trump just brought her on. And so I
Yeah,
referenced the book again and I said anybody needs to read that book. It's fantastic.
it's fantastic. And I don't like how I've kind of seen her get ripped apart online, and it's very, very upsetting to me because, it's very different if you've been at a party for a long time. With like I've been in, I read her book. I've read it twice. I recommended it to my brother, the team. Like I've recommended it to my store owners that are refillery owners because they absolutely are in alignment with what Casey is saying. And then it's like some people, so you're at this party where everyone's like really on board with making sure ingredients are safe, right? For us and for our children. And then it feels like someone's opened the door to that party, looked around and be like, no, this party sucks. This is, and it's like, but you're not looking at like there's a camaraderie here. There's a lot of people have these feelings about, why does food taste better in Europe? Like why are we not, why are kids like encouraged in school to have just processed snacks like 2, 3 times a day? Like there's a, what you eat as a kid kind of sets you up for what you're how your health is a little later in life. And like we this is something that I feel like everyone should be in alignment on. And we're gonna get there, right? Like I think it's the bridge. Like,
I think yeah, if we
fingers
can't
crossed.
unite on like we should all have healthier options that and
Mhm.
just we shouldn't be poisoned,
Yeah.
like that, that's like the one thing we should all be united on, regardless of what side of the political aisle you're on or who you followed. Like this is just common sense. And
Yeah.
I think we are getting there. And I think because of like podcasts and people like
Mhm.
you that are able to get the word out, we don't have to just rely on like what the media or commercials are telling us
Yeah.
anymore. We can talk to real people that are experiencing it. And I want to touch on it because I'm a mom of 3 kids.
Awesome.
My oldest daughter had so many issues for the longest time. We went to everyone, specialists, the whole 9 yards, ended up going to a holistic doctor who was
Yeah.
like, she has leaky gut. And like, what products are you using? What is she eating? So
Mhm.
that led us down a path of like, luckily healing that because we finally talked to someone that got it, but also looking at labels on everything.
Yeah.
And it has been so hard for me to go into a store or go like especially an Amazon or a Target,
Yeah.
and even the stuff that's labeled like sensitive skin or whatever will have just horrible ingredients in, and it's more like a marketing thing and I feel like no one's enforcing it. But that's where me as a parent, like I would much rather purchase from someone that I know. Like, okay, this is Kate's brand. Like
Yeah.
I know her values. Just
Hmm.
like if you go into a local business, like you know the person behind it and there's a level of trust there. And I think we've just completely shattered that because now
Great.
how many local businesses are left? There's not many after COVID.
So I mean, again, I'm going to always bring it back to these refill store owners. And I also just had we call it a dip trip where we take our independent store owners, we take them all over the place. The first one we did was Morocco. We took a bunch of them to Morocco for 2 weeks, and we kind of looked at sustainability through a different lens, right? Like this is a country where they don't have it's not that they don't have a lot of the stuff that we have, but we took them to see how argan oil is actually processed and made and how much you need, how many argan nuts you need to produce just a little bit of oil. Like we did a lot of that kind of going around. And then the next dip trip, we took them to the Dominican Republic. And, I got them up on surfboards. And I wanted to make sure, like, some of these people had never surfed in their lives. And I wanted to make sure that they all got to know each other because I think being an independent store owner is like a very lonely gig. And it's one where you see them collapsing around you all the time. I wanted our top ones to see that, hey, there's other top stores and we can figure out how to have this network of people that are all doing the same thing, have the same beliefs about, ingredient transparency. And then this past one we just did in the Catskills in New York, and it was our biggest one yet. We had about 30 people there from all over the country, people from California, Ohio, Virginia, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York. We had people from literally everywhere. And the thing that we really wanted to zero in on is that we're all like these refillery owners. They're we're all in charge of kind of the public health of our communities, right? Like, and making sure that this plastic free movement isn't something that people roll their eyes at, you know, because it's getting to that point where sometimes when you're like, oh, I have it sometimes like, oh, I own a plastic free shampoo and conditioner bar brand. And someone's like, oh, great, you know, it's plastic free because you see how plastic is really not only heard like accumulating, but now we know it's in our blood, it's in our brains, it's in our lungs, it's in our babies, it's everywhere. And it's not something to roll your eyes at. It's something to champion. It's something to get excited about. And I think the reason people roll their eyes, I agree with, is because it's gotten so preachy and so um kind of finger waggly, the sustainable
Yes.
movement. And as a brand, we actually rarely ever mention that we're plastic free. Like the plastic free part is just a bonus. The coolest thing about our brand is that it saves you money and that it works. Like I've never really had to advertise because of those two things. No one believes that the conditioner bar is going to work as well as like a Pureology or an Oribe or a Kerastase. And once people find out that it does, are like blown away.
They want to tell everyone about it.
Yeah, they tell, like, I've had the same customers come back. Some of them we've only been in business 3.5 years. They've put in like 15, 20 orders. It's the gift they give to everyone. And as a business owner and a small business owner, this is the thing that it's like you could only dream of your product being so well loved and so highly recommended that you don't have to advertise. It's crazy.
I have to ask you because I don't know this term, so I'm guessing some of our audience doesn't know this term. What is a refillery?
Oh man. So refillery is it's basically a place where you take an empty bottle, right? So say you finish your laundry detergent. You can actually take your laundry detergent bottle that you bought already and fill it with laundry detergent that is free of endocrine disruptors and free of anything. So you bought the plastic once, really, because when you keep buying a new jug of laundry detergent, you're basically buying the trash every time, including trash and laundry detergent. So refillery, you can go refill. You can refill your hand soap. You can refill, dishwasher detergent. You can refill, I sell solids, but you can refill shampoo, conditioner, body wash, literally everything that you need for a household. And some even have organic food. So you can go and refill organic pasta, lentils, spices, there's so, because they're independently owned, they're all kind of different, have a different vibe and different product offerings. But what you can guarantee with all of them is that they're very, very committed to making sure that the ingredients are something that they're proud to sell, which you don't get everywhere.
No.
So tell me about, because I know you, in the beginning, we said that you created the Shop Small Index.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that and like, what does that mean, first of all?
So it's basically a measure to bring awareness of how many small stores, independent stores are closing. And I think that there needs to be some sort of metric for people to look at and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize that we're having like, I guess the best way to put it is small shop-ageddon, right? Like all of your local hardware stores where like the intellectual capital is so important. You go to a hardware store and that person behind the counter has owned that store for 40 years, and he makes sure the employees know everything about all of the goods that are in there. Like, we're losing that. We're losing that at an alarming pace because, what someone will go in there to window shop and then buy it on Amazon, buy the goods on Amazon. And
Yeah.
that behavior is killing the high streets, and it's making, there I hear very often like teachers should be paid more, right? And it's like, well, the teachers are paid more when there's your local economy is more healthy because the taxes go to renegotiate teacher salaries and all those things. So if you really believe the teachers in your town that take care of your children should be paid more, then you have to shop in your town. Like, and so,
Yeah, this just makes me think. So I live in an area when we moved here 10 years ago, there were
Mhm.
like cow farms. It was pastures and like all this greenery. And we knew eventually they're going to build, but I thought like, oh, this is going to be so far out. But no, I mean, they've already like almost every bit of land is gone and they're just building left and right. And my friend, who's a local business owner here, she was opening up a restaurant and I was like, why are you opening it up like 45 minutes away? I want that restaurant here. And she said they're only leasing to chain restaurants because, the chain restaurant has more credit and is less likely to go out of business. And that pissed me off. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
bet no one knows about this. Everyone's on our Facebook groups like, oh, we need more local businesses. But I
right.
guarantee none of them know, well, hey, like in our county, they're not approving local businesses. And I bet it's not just here, it's probably all over.
I'd never heard that, but now that I hear that, it makes so much sense. Like, they're not, the bank and the leasing company's not going to take a chance on a new entrepreneur. They're going to take a chance on this vetted corporate one. And that is so sad because it ruins the local flavor of a town, you know?
Yeah,
Like, imagine, I just can't imagine living in a world where there's only, 10 choices left for.
exactly. That's the thing with
Mhm.
Amazon, I feel like that's becoming the only choice. I mean, I know it's
No,
not, but I feel like that's where it's headed. And
it
I feel
is.
like that's their intent. And no
Yeah.
one's stopping them. I mean, they're going full force ahead. And I mean, look at
I'm
how many
stopping.
businesses, right? Yeah, you are.
I
Which, okay,
know.
so that brings me to a question though. Is anyone in like the government working on this? I know they're working on like antitrust stuff with Google, but we need someone focusing on Amazon. And I
I
don't think it's
agree. I don't
working.
know if anyone's specifically working on it, but if anyone working for the government is listening, please make sure Amazon pays their fair share of taxes. Like, it would make a huge difference to everyone if they paid their fair share of taxes and also treated their employees right. Because I view sustainability as also how people are treating their employees. And you hear during the prime days, those few prime days a year, like they're the employ like I think there's like something like upwards of 40% of like injuries for Amazon Prime workers or something, incidences, I think it is. And for me, a big part of my pride, and I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people in America, like their pride is treating their employees well. Like,
Yeah.
I I now have my own factory in North Carolina, and but the biggest sense of joy is like giving them bonuses when things are going well. And like, I just grew my team by two more people, and that is like, it's a rush. It's a rush to be able to provide that for other people. Um, I
So
don't know
your
how to explain it
factory,
anyway.
like you're actually making this in the USA.
Yes, yeah. My accessories are made overseas in China. So we're 90% of our products are made in the USA. Yeah, I have my own factory. We had to double the size of it last year, and we have I have a team there that's just amazing. And like, I honestly, it's that to me is the American dream, to be able to have a business that provides for your family and provides for the families of others. It's
Yeah.
it's not a siloed thing I'm doing, and
You don't
even
have
more so.
child labor back there, like
Right.
in your
And the secondary tier of that is making sure that my products are able to be sold in these independent stores. And I so as a business, I don't undercut the small store owners. So whenever someone goes on our website and goes to the store locator, they know that they're paying the same price in a store as they would online. And that's really, really important to me because otherwise we would just be undercutting our stores as well.
So is it safe to say that being as community oriented as you are, that you are not going to be like Amazon and employ robots in your
No,
factory?
no. Oh my God. I, it's just so I understand, like I understand that, like it's so cool that human brains have made robots and have made AI and have made all of this stuff. Like it's so fascinating and it's incredible that we've gone look at how humans have developed and what they've made in the past 10,000 years. And then look at the past 100 years. It's crazy. It's so cool. Um, but the thing that I think will always be true to human nature, my mom was an anthropologist, and and it's just something she's always embedded is that people need each other. We need each other. That's why community is so important. And like, whether people are religious or not, I think religious communities are important. And if you're not into religion, then your sports teams, local sports teams are important, or, whatever it is, like knitting groups, they're all important. Like it's hard to be a human alone. That's why solitary confinement is the worst punishable offense. It's worse. It's like worse than death. You want to make we were supposed to interact with each other since the beginning of time, and you're supposed to have like kind of a social code with each other. Like the idea that there's this one story that this one woman, I guess she sold stroller covers, something like that on Amazon, and people would buy them for trips and then return them right away, use them and return them right away.
I saw
And
that. I saw her
yeah,
post
and
on TikTok.
it was weird to see the population. Did you read the comments? It was weird to see the population. Half of them were like, "Oh my God, this is terrible," and half of them were like, "Well, you shouldn't have something that's so expensive that we can return," And it's
Yeah.
like you would never say that to someone's face that you bought something from. Do you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah.
You
I know.
know?
I think a lot of people just conveniently look at like the benefit of like, well, I'm getting it delivered quickly and cheaper, and that's all they
Yeah.
care about, and like refuse to see that, you know, what's happening on the back end. There are these small
Right.
businesses that are completely collapsing, but like you said earlier, they think it's separate from them. But no, if
Mhm.
these small businesses aren't making it, that's money that your county now, your local taxes aren't going to get,
Right.
and it's human beings, it's
Yeah.
people
It's
that
people.
their lives are being destroyed in some cases where, that was their whole livelihood, and now they're having trouble picking up and doing something else.
And people, it's weird because in economics you think of people as like they don't have this whole backstory or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, this is a customer, this isn't, this is money, this whatever. But really at ground level, when you're owning a business, like the people are so important,
Mhm.
and like I can't think of anything more important than the people around me. And every person that loses their job has a network around them. And they might be like, I think of like a parent, because now I'm a parent, right? I have two kids. And if I lost my job, it's not me suffering, it's then my children. It's like a
Yeah.
whole network of people suffering because of job loss. And I hope that people start making shopping decisions that are benefit them in their town and benefit the people around them as well as their families. That's my dream, is to kind of bring that back. It's a little lofty and it's a little pie in the sky, but I it's important to me, and I think not enough people are saying it, and I think a lot of people agree.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the Shop Small Index? And is that something that's accessible throughout the United States or just something that's in place in New Jersey?
Yeah, no, it's at a national level. I have a Substack and I post it once a month. And it's really just a measure to just see like how things, it's a bird's eye view of what's happening in small store, I guess just the climate of it. And people notice maybe one small store closing at a time, but pretty soon we're going to start to notice entire main streets just closed. And you can't wait until that happens and then wonder where everything went. Like,
Yeah.
or you can't walk into a small store and be like, oh, this seems like an adorable hobby for someone's wife, like that, which is what small store owners hear a lot. And I think it's a tragedy that that's how that's viewed now, because a small store owner, the fact that they have to vet everything that's on their shelves and invest in it in order to, give their community something that they think they want. I think that that's really really important, and we're overlooking it as a population. We're almost like discounting, like calling small store owners, um, I mean, just thinking of them as like being subsidized by a spouse, I think is so unfair. I think it's a big job, and I think even if you don't think of that store as someplace you want to shop, like, that's where teenagers get their first job. Do you want every teenager to have the same experience only working in a chain restaurant? No,
Mhm.
you want them to know, like, oh, like learning sales, I think is an important part. I don't know. Did you guys work as teenagers?
Oh,
I
yes.
did.
Yes.
Yeah, starting
I've
at
been working since,
15.
yeah, since
At the
I was working
mall. Yes.
the same.
Worked at the mall.
Right. So I think everyone should work in retail and understand like what it's
Mhm.
like to be on the other side. But those, even those those jobs that are even part-time jobs for the teenagers to kind of learn work ethic in a community, those are also really important. The fiber of what it means to be human is like it's getting eroded, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% um, agree with that. And I don't know, I think it's important too for these small business owners to kind of adapt in a way like you did,
Mhm.
where go on podcasts, go on social media,
Yeah.
because it's not like, 20 years ago where it's like, I'm just going to put a sign out. Like, start interacting on like Facebook groups and stuff and let people know you're there. Because I think
Yeah.
that's another thing that, you don't have to be like super tech savvy, but you can start just explaining like the story behind your brand, just like you're doing. Um, I have to ask you, so since you have a factory in North Carolina, I would love to get the opinion of, small business owner in the US. What do you think of tariffs? Do you think that could help bring back business in America and strengthen it? Or is this going to hurt you because like raw materials are coming from elsewhere? Like, where do you stand on that whole issue? Curious.
So I think tariffs are I think they're a good thing. I think they're fine. For me, they don't really affect me that much. And I don't think it's not like I'm not making rocket ships and I'm not making cars. So I'm not making things that where the tariffs, the sticker shock of the tariffs are really so big. But I want everyone listening, and this is very important. I want everyone listening to know that the tariffs are on cost of goods. So if you're like for me, my products that are made in China, um, say it was like a 200% tariff, just like it's on cost of goods, and it's very different than what the retail price is. Because remember, when you're buying something even wholesale, it's the store is paying 50% off, right? Like they're paying so they can also make a margin. So I think there's been a lot of knee-jerk reactions to the tariffs I've seen in my community. It doesn't affect me that it affects me on the cost of goods price, and that is okay. It is a price to pay for being in business, and it's a price to pay like that isn't as astronomical as the news is making it in my industry. I don't want to speak across all industries. So I think it's a good thing. I might get, hammered for that, but I think it's important that we learn to do some of this stuff here. And it really depends on the industry. Because manufacturing can be complicated, but if we're making robots for Amazon, we can make robots for manufacturing here. Like it's just going to take some time.
Yeah, and I think it's
Yeah.
that same sentiment. Like, okay, let's just say, I mean, we're actually seeing a lot of prices overall, or at least on the consumer end, are going down. But like, let's say they did go up a little bit, but in exchange for that, you're like more American businesses are popping up, and that means more
Mhm.
jobs for people in America. Like, I'd be willing to pay more for that, you know?
Thank you.
So I think we got to look at the big picture with that as well and just say, like, what's the cost we've been paying for all of this convenience and cheap goods from China,
Right.
and, weigh that on a grand scale. I mean, I think, for my age, like, you've seen a big shift since I was a kid till now in our communities, in the way we shop. And yeah, there's the convenience, but there's the whole other side of it where, like, I can't take my kids to like the local candy store because it doesn't
Right.
exist anymore. We don't
Yeah.
have a local ice cream shop. We have a Dairy Queen now, and it's like things like that. Like, we need to look at the big picture and get back to that, like supporting small businesses made in
Yeah.
America.
Well, when I like close my eyes and think of, you know, the America I want to see. I close my eyes and I think of like a Norman Rockwell painting, right? Like where there's like a cute, independent, whatever, like ice cream sundae
Mhm.
shop, and it has its own cute name and its own thing. And I think about, you know, buying a gift for someone that I get from a boutique instead of going on Amazon where that person immediately knows where it's from. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something really special about what America has to offer and what Americans have to offer. We saw during COVID how many people took up crafts and stuff with their hands, like handmade. They were able to take a break from whatever kind of hamster wheel we were all on, open their eyes and take up hobbies again. I feel like for a long time, I don't remember anyone I know having a hobby. And then the one, I think, benefit from COVID, I don't think there's a lot of benefits from there, but like the one thing was like I saw people making stuff again and like
Right.
taking a lot of pride in, even just making a sourdough, which became a very popular thing. Like people are like, oh my God, like I was so distanced from what bread was. I was like, I've been buying bread for so long and I was so distanced from it and I was buying it in a plastic bag and now here I am making it. It's not that hard. Like I can make this now. And it's better for my family. And I think that you know, if we could just return to a little less convenience, a little more, I don't know, looking for what's right in front of you, I think that would be, my own American dream, at least.
I do think there was one benefit, at least from my perspective, with COVID, because during COVID, I lived in kind of a small town in Washington State at the time. And I think I put a lot more focus on supporting local during
Yeah.
COVID because we were watching all these small family-run businesses
Mhm.
struggling so hard, and so many of them went out of business and never recovered.
Yeah.
And so in my community, we were really trying to support our local businesses, and that was something I hadn't seen as much before COVID.
And there was an explosion of that, and it was so beautiful. Then now it started to wane.
Hmm.
So people have forgotten that energy, and and I want that energy back. Like it wasn't that long ago. I mean,
Right.
it was only, God, 5 years. Okay, it's a little long ago now. But that even what for me as someone who considers myself an environmentalist, right? Like I saw so many people start to like open their eyes and go for more walks. Because I think really you can't preach people into caring about the environment, but you can soft serve it when they're like, "Oh my God, I went on this like nice hike and I, feel so great." Like just these kind of I went for a dip in the ocean or in the lake and I feel better. Kind of that nature's medicine sort of stuff. I think that's the best way to get people to care about the environment and not telling them to like buy everything plastic free and make them feel bad for anything they ever buy. Um, but yeah, that was another part of COVID that I had a lot of hope for, like the spending more time outside and then with their families, like that was both of those things. And then also, yeah, the camaraderie of getting people into local stores, like saving their stores, buying gift cards for stores that just even if they didn't need anything, just keeping them going.
Yeah.
I thought it was really beautiful.
Well, and I love the way that you're approaching it because like you said earlier, a lot of what we've seen in the past with sustainable brands is like, you shouldn't do that. And like, you have to be all plastic free or you're a horrible person. And then we've seen politics come into it where it's like, if you
Yeah.
don't agree with everything I say, like, don't even bother shopping here. Like, that's not going to get people to change their mind. Let's instead focus on
Yeah.
solutions. And you're offering a solution here. And you're saying, like, this is something that I can do to help, with hair care. And if only we had one of you for every industry making these waves, like that's how things change. It's not telling everyone like, hey, what you're doing is wrong. It's like, give me a solution. Like tell me
Yeah.
in a positive way like how I can get on board with you and let's not be
Yeah.
polarizing.
Yeah. And it's strange that, you know, it's weird because I'm in the beauty industry, right? And I've been in the beauty industry for a very long time. And sometimes when I meet people and I tell them like the way that they ask like, "Oh, and where is it sold?" And I'm like, "Oh, in independent retailers." And they kind of scoff at it. They're like, "Oh, you're not on Amazon. Oh, you're not on Sephora. You're not in Ulta," as if I'm like not worth having a business. But like my business makes such a difference in the stores in the lives of the people whose stores it's in. In some of our retailers that we just had on the retreat, one of them in her small store, she owns one store. In that small store, she sells upwards of $70,000 worth of dip products a year. That
Wow.
is a lot. That keeps pays her rent. It keeps, it pays for her employees. And that's, she has a bunch of other products in her store as well. So like it's not like this is the only thing, but I use my website to send people into their local stores, and that in turn get someone to purchase there. And then they can ask that store owner questions about the product. Most of the people that carry dip know it inside and out to talk about it and answer if you have any, like if you're a little nervous about trying bar shampoo and conditioner for the first time. Some of the stores in Virginia, they sell, I don't know, one of them sells around $50,000 worth a year, another one 60,000, another, Ohio. Like we have stores everywhere, and it makes me so happy to see these people thrive, because maybe you go into, like I said it before, but like you go in for dip and maybe you're like, oh my God, like I can refill my spices for a tenth of what it would cost to just buy a new one. That's like really cool. And they don't have, these independent store owners don't have the marketing budget to get people in, but I'm happy to do that for them, because what they're doing is very much aligned with um, you know, human health in general.
Do you have locations that sell your product in Texas?
Yes. Yeah. So in Austin, there's a place called Parker and Scott. And then there's a few other ones. And I think we have one in Houston. If you go on the store locator, it'll pull up the closest store to you. And even if you go to that store locator and say you're like, I don't want to drive, 45 minutes to the nearest location, you can still, most of them will ship to you. So you can even, keep your money circulating through your own state if you'd like to, or you can also shop from us online, of course. Um, and yeah, so were you both in Texas?
I'm in Tampa.
Oh, you're in Tampa? Oh, we have a
Mhm.
great store in Tampa. So if you go there, I recommend you checking that one out. But they're
Yeah,
everywhere.
let everyone know like what is your website so they can find the store locator and your social media and all this kind of stuff because I'm sure people are going to want to support you after hearing this
Yeah,
conversation.
absolutely. So our website is dipalready.com, dipalready.com, and our social handles are at dipalready on both Instagram and TikTok. And it's always me in the Instagram DMs. So if you have any questions, or you really want to follow up on anything that I've said, you can always ask me. I really enjoy running the Instagram. It's very silly and it's basically very serious hair care for not so serious people.
I
So
think it's cool. Like how many business owners do you know that run their own Instagram and you can reach out directly to them? Like
it's
that's
fun. I
awesome.
mean, I wouldn't have a company if it wasn't for my customers, and I never let myself forget that. Like I don't want to be distanced so much from our customers, because that's, if something is ever going wrong, I need to know as the owner. And my incredible team can also help, but like I don't want to ever not know if someone is having an issue.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go right now and look up the Tampa location. I want to take my kids there. Like they would love it. Like, oh, we can
Yeah.
refill, soaps and detergents and,
Yeah.
get hair care and everything. That sounds awesome. So, Kate, thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you all the best luck in the world. And
Thank
let's
you.
take on Amazon and start shopping local.
Thank you so much. This was really like my joy to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate having you on, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.